Mr. Burns, I get hit with a 2x4 every time I go home from people that want to do something about $4 gasoline. And when I don't go home, then they hit me on the email with that. So I think we're all getting hit with that 2x4. And Mr. Todaro, you said earlier you don't understand the legislative process. I got to tell you that sometimes people on this side of the table don't fully understand it either. But I'd like to associate my comments with Mr. Bartlett first. And I've got to tell you, when I start reading about this stuff, I go to his website and look at his energy speeches. And thank you for all you do in your research. It helps us youngins down here, and I appreciate everything that you do and your comments on this. Just a couple of questions. One of the things that, and besides that, Mr. Woolley, thank you for what you're doing in my area. And if you want to locate those other 2 plants in Evansville, we'll try to roll out the red carpet for you. We sure wouldn't be opposed to that. Tell me the difficulty of retrofitting as we move into the second phase or the second generation fuels. Are we going to be able to retrofit, or is it all new technology, or are we going to be able to retrofit some of the phase 1 plants into the phase 2 where we're going to save some cost there? Is it a whole new process? And we may have touched on it with the wood earlier, but is that going to be a difficult switch?
Well, I think we plan to follow the concept that we're doing in Kansas right now, and we'll go back to what at that point will be an existing plant in Indiana and retrofit a hybrid facility. So we will have both to start out with. And so the first challenge in an area is the feedstock availability. So it's not it's very local. It's not like corn. I mean, we could pretty much site a corn plant anywhere in the country with delivering corn by rail. And that sort of thing, or barges, but sourcing the biomass feedstock in the area of the plant. So that's challenge number 1. As far as there is a synergy. There's a good synergy between the 2 facilities. There's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of power, and steam, and wastewater, and all of those sorts of facilities that can be shared between the 2. And then longer term, as the cellulosic technology really proves itself out, then there's a very good likelihood that we could start to retrofit and move away from the corn in that plant. And when we do that, we still maintain much of the fermentation. Those very large tanks that you see, those are all very much the same. And some of the front end where how we process that corn stalks into sugar versus converting the corn into sugar would have to change. But that's kind of our progression. We go back and we retrofit our current starch with the cellulose technology, take advantage of everything that we've already got there, the know-how, the people, the technology, the expertise, and really start to really understand cellulose. And I agree with the gentleman earlier about doing it. I mean, that's a key thing. I mean, I personally have been involved in cellulosic ethanol research and for the last 12, 15 years, and I've sat around and read about it and studied it in labs and things like that, and actually going out and building this pilot plant first and building this plant in Kansas. And we're going to learn a lot, and that's going to really enable us to make those steps. And the key thing is along with us knowing how to do it, is that getting the risk down to the financial community. They have to see that we know what we're doing too, and by actually doing those. And so we will demonstrate that, and then it becomes any incentives that you all can provide for us of loan guarantees or making sure that we've got a place to sell the ethanol. That just continues to enforce that financial community that sees, yeah, we've got a viable business here and we understand technology, and that will come back to the other gentleman's issue about how fast we can do this. A lot of it has to do with how fast the money can come after we've proven the technology.
I think that leads into my second, if it's not a question, it's a comment, but if you have comment on it, I'd appreciate it, is that, you know, when we approved the incentives on, we always talk about unintended consequences. I think that's one of the big fears of Congress. What are the unintended consequences? I think we need your help because Congress, I think Ms. Thorntonberry was just talking about this, is that we try to look at the big picture and we don't have a crystal ball on what that's going to be. So as you go through your process with the plants, that we look ahead and we try to fight those unintended consequences so we don't end up with egg on our face. And we want to supply those incentives and do exactly what you're doing, and thank you. But help us find those unintended consequences. And if you see them, let us know. And if anybody wants to comment, that's fine. But if not, Mr. Chairman, thank you all very much. It's been a great hearing.